Okay, here we go.
Hi, this is Greg Plum with SalesPath Plus. Today, I'm joined by Kevin O'Keefe, the founder and CEO of Advanced Sales AI, who is the company that actually created SalesPath Plus. Welcome, Kevin.
Thanks, Greg. Great to be talking to you today.
Absolutely. Well, listen, when you created this product, you developed SalesPath Plus and bringing this to market, what is the problem you were looking to solve?
Well, Greg, the origin of this was 5 years ago. And first, I should just give you a little background. I started my career as a seller. I'm a salesman, and even though I'm the CEO of a company, I'm still a salesman. That's basically, that's kind of what I do. Right?
Still carrying a bag?
I'm still carrying a bag. That's right.
Yep.
So I worked my way up, became a frontline sales manager, became an executive, a CRO, et cetera. And so I've been through a lot of QBRs, quarterly business reviews. And invariably, when a seller is in the front of the room and he's telling me he's going to close a deal in the current quarter, I'll say, hey, that's great. We're going to get that deal. I say, we got 6 weeks to the end of the quarter. What are you going to do? What's the plan to close that business at the end of the quarter? And invariably, silence and a blank stare. And that's the problem I'm solving, which is I think every seller should have a plan and be able to articulate the plan on how they're going to close the business and make their commitment. And so my frustration is what led me to, there's got to be a better way. And that's kind of the fundamental problem that I wanted to solve, which is to give the frontline sales manager the tools to have his salespeople build plans and to manage them to a plan, because we can't do it today.
So, okay, so the product itself, how does it actually go about, solving this problem?
Well, the product itself allows you to sales management and revenue operations to create templates for plans that you keep in a library. And what the seller does is when he opens up an opportunity, they can go into the library and pick the right sales plan, or we call it a sales path, and append it to the opportunity. As soon as that happens, there's a sales plan. There's kind of like a sensor on the opportunity that is always sensing where you are in the time frame to close the business. And it allows the sales manager and his sellers to change the sales path so that it meets the requirements of a particular opportunity. So no sales plan survives contact with the prospect. So it's great that we all will think we have an ideal process, but we want to save the seller time, let the seller take a template of a sales plan, but then allow the sales manager, the frontline sales manager, work with the seller to modify and customize that plan to meet the challenge of the opportunity. Got it.
Well, I know that the company was formed. There's some deep-rooted convictions that really kind of drive everything that SalesPath Plus is about. You want to share a little bit about those?
Yeah, and I don't want to bore you, but I prepared a slide for you, Greg. Okay.
Absolutely.
And since this is the era of Zoom, let me see if I can master Zoom. Okay, so let me share my screen here.
I'm sure Teams might have something to say about that, but yeah, you're right.
Exactly. You Delaware guys, right?
Yeah.
So let me just show you what we have here. So really 8 convictions. There's lots of thought behind it, but look, the first conviction that we have is that the most important position in any sales organization is the frontline sales manager. Frontline sales manager is the guy that, he drives the sellers, he coaches the sellers. And so he's the critical, call it the leverage point for sales productivity. If you want to turn around the sales organization or drive a sales organization to a higher level of productivity, that's the position that you need to focus on. That's like your first lieutenant in your sales army. the guy who's the platoon leader. If you've got the right guys in that position and you give them the right training and the right tools, then you're going to drive productivity. Now, unfortunately, the second conviction is we as an industry have underinvested in that position in terms of technology and training. So that was kind of part of the problem. When I was envisioning this product, I was envisioning myself as a frontline sales manager running a small team of 5 to 6 sellers. What would be the tool that would allow me in that role to be more productive and make my guys more productive? So, today,
So question.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
so I've had that role myself.
Yeah.
Tell me, CRM, you're saying CRM is insufficient. How so?
Well, because it doesn't provide any of the tools around what we call sales execution, right? I mean, you need CRM, right? It's just that it's insufficient for the role. And the reason for that is if you really think about complex sales cycles and what you ask a seller to do, you ask them to qualify the deal, you ask them to run a complex sales process, and you ask them to close it on time. Those capabilities, there's no function in CRM that supports that activity. If you look at CRM, CRM hasn't changed much since the 1980s. I mean, the history of CRM is there was ACT for registered reps. Basically, it modernized the Rolodex. And it hasn't changed much until, Siebel in the 90s, late 90s, 2000, which basically took a lot of the base functionality of ACT and made it a shared memory. Put it on a Sun, they put it on a Sun Micro Unix system. And now you look at Salesforce today and a lot of the CRM today, same functionality as Siebel, but it's in the cloud. But the functionality hasn't changed. And so our view is, look, you need CRM. When we were looking at this problem, there's 350 CRMs out there. We didn't need to build the 350 first. But what we wanted to do is build this capability to allow to better function, to do qualification, sales execution, and closing. And so that's what we've done.
So you basically said, you looked at the industry and you said, we don't need a new one. What we need to do is augment what's already there. And obviously, Salesforce being a market leader, certainly a place to, become part of the App Exchange and really kind of hit your cart to that horse, essentially.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, we think CRM, we think Salesforce is the leading CRM. We're a Salesforce partner. We're in the App Exchange. This is the horse we chose to ride. And so, when you get past the idea of, my third conviction is, all salespeople will be more successful if they have a sales plan. And there's a lot of research around that. There's some research in the Harvard Business Review that says, sellers and sales organizations that have a formal sales plan, they sell 28% more. So why wouldn't you do it? But our view has been, there's not a tool out there that allows you to enforce that and extend that discipline out to the seller. So that's kind of a core concept for us. If you have a sales plan, you're going to sell more. When I started selling in 1978, which I don't want to date myself, the old time peddlers, the guys working at IBM and Honeywell would always say to me, make a plan, work the plan. They were right. Now, there's a lot of research that backs them up, but make a plan and work the plan. All sellers should heed that. I guess the corollary with that is, how are you able to pick a close date if you don't have a sales plan, right? I mean, if there's no sales plan and you're filling out an opportunity and you're going to put a close date in, well, how do you get to that? Well, there's only one. It's a guess or a hope. And if as a sales manager, you want to bet your career, which you've got to make your commitments to move up the ladder. If you don't have a sales plan, then all of your close dates are essentially hopes. And is that what you want to build your career on? And I'd say no. So if you have a sales plan, you're going to sell more. And if you have a sales plan, you're going to be better able to predict what the close date is, and that will drive forecast accuracy.
Now, and I think what I've heard you say that I really it hit home with me is every opportunity needs a plan, not just your book of business, but every single opportunity. Once it hits Salesforce and is logged as an opportunity, at that point, that's when that plan should be appended and followed.
Absolutely. As soon as you are given a marketing qualified lead, and you open up a sales opportunity, that's when you should append the plan to your opportunity. And the very first stage of any sales plan is qualify the deal, right? Don't waste your time on a deal that's not qualified. So the very first thing that should be part of every sales plan is turning the MQLO, the marketing qualified lead, into a sales qualified lead, and then to make sure you have an execution plan to get the deal closed on the day that you commit to your manager. Now, having said that, I have talked to, a lot of sales managers over the course of several years around this problem. And, one of the things that, I find is every time I ask someone about do they have a sales process, a formal sales process, they say yes. And then they tell me basically what it is. And it's given that I'm in the IT industry, they all are about 9 months and so many 7 stages. Well, that may be true, but part of what we believe in is sales needs to become more data driven. So one of the things with SalesPath Plus is not only you create the sales paths, but that you can monitor them, because I guarantee you that the sales process that you think is the right one you have today, it isn't. Okay, but if you use data over time, you'll be able to drill down and really figure out what the sales path is for new logos. But now, I'd take the problem a little bit deeper, and I'd say, it's not sufficient to have a sales process just for new name accounts or new logo accounts. For most companies, 70% of their business, of their revenue, comes from existing customers. So why don't you have a sales process for those sales motions that are driven, towards your customers? So, that's expansion sales, it's upsell, and it's renewals. And so you should not only have a sales process in place for new logos, but you should have a sales process in place for all the unique types of sales, because they're all different. They all have different time frames. They all have different durations. They have different stages and different tasks. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think renewals is a really important one, because you're right. If you're focused just on new logos, you may miss the boat, and you may be, if you don't have this plan in place to say, X number of weeks or months prior to renewal, let's say really should be months, that customer might be slipping away from you. You won't even know it.
Well, I'll tell you a horror story. I once had a job where I took over for an operation. I won't talk about it. Our renewal rate for maintenance contracts was 2%. So we would literally sell a deal just so we could replace a deal that was expiring. And so it didn't take much effort. It just took focusing on renewals, which I think most companies do. And our renewal rate went up to 98%, which was all gross margin for us. So you make a very, very good point. But a lot of what people do today, one of the most prevalent sales strategies today is land and expand. So land and expand means sell a new logo, and then expand the footprint, and then go find a new use case, which is upsell. so the idea here is very simple. We're not inventing a new tactics. I think every one of the listeners today knows there's 4 type of sales types, but we want to give them the tools so they can enforce that and not lose any focus on any of the different types of sources of revenue.
Got it. Very good. And then the last bullet there, hygiene, I think is anybody that's managed a Salesforce environment just knows that hygiene should be more than a greeting. It definitely is an issue.
If I could say a little bit more about that, Greg, which is, really, and this is, I guess this is anecdotally true, and I've talked to a lot of consultants in this area who have a business of basically pulling the data out of the CRM and then going back and telling their clients that between 30 and 50% of their pipeline is really no good. And what no good's got a couple of different dimensions. It's dormant. It's been sitting in the same stage, for a year. Okay, well, yep. that should have been caught, and that should be purged. You've got deals in your pipeline whose close date is already passed. I would venture to say that's probably suspect. And then you have deals that are good, but the close date is really optimistic. And then what we try to do is we try to close. Well, here's the cost of that. The cost of all that is that you try to close deals that are really can't be closed because they're not good, and you try to close them by giving them more discount, or you try to close a deal prematurely because you think the close date is in the current quarter, but naturally that deal is 3 or 4 months out. So and I've done it, we all do it. Give them 20% extra if they'll do the deal by December, and then we tell the client that the discount's going to go away. A discount never goes away.
No,
so
of course not.
Once it's out on the table, you're going to live with it. And so the fact that 30 to 50% of your pipeline is, really either bad deals, they're dormant, or they have the wrong close date. There's a study, cost the industry billions of dollars. There's a Harvard business case study that says that they had 151 companies in it, larger companies. They said that this end of the quarter rush is what they called it. Cost the average company $91 million a year. Because again, they're just trying to close deals that are unclosable. Okay, they put a lot of pressure on their salespeople to do it, or they try to close it for the wrong date. So, this is just, these 8 convictions are, unfortunately, I would have to say 40 years of my experience, and they're common experiences of all frontline sales managers, and they're exactly the problems that SalesPath Plus is designed to solve.
So the data, without digging too deep yet, because we're going to have, we'll talk again, but the data is in there. It's in Salesforce. What SalesPath Plus does is basically surfaces that data and throws flags, because every stage is metered, every part of the sales process is metered, so that sales manager, right, that your target customer, they're the ones that we've already said that they're key to the organization. That frontline sales manager, they know where they should be spending their time. They know what's at risk, versus having to go through manually and try to make heads or tails out of the report in Salesforce.
That's right. So just a little background here. I wanted to try to build this for years, and tried to use the natural, basically what could a Salesforce administrator do for me just natively in Salesforce, and we couldn't do it. So the only way to do what we're doing today is to do custom programming, and we've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to build this product. But it's custom programming that allows you to build a real-time, always metered sales plan. Why is that important? There's a lot of data in SalesPath in Salesforce, but it doesn't automatically get surfaced. And so the last thing I tell you on this transmission, Greg, is sales needs to become real time. Okay, we're the only discipline in the organization today that's still basically batch. We generate reports and we look back and we say, geez, I wish I had known that the month before the quarter closed so I could have taken action. That's a big problem we're trying to solve. Because if you're a salesman, there's really, you know, the kind of like, let's say the cardinal rule of sales is I'm going to deliver a unit of sales on a specific date. And up until now, that time element has been ignored. And so $1 today is worth $1 tomorrow. And what we've done is we're making sales real time. For the first time, a sales manager will have a real-time dashboard that is predictive, that allows him to see his deals in progress being monitored by time.
You know, I know we're going to dig in a little bit, you know, down the road here and show exactly how this impacts the day-to-day. And I think that's where it gets really prescriptive and motivating to me. That's the part that's exciting for me. Hey, Kevin, where would people want to take a closer look? Where would they go? How do they find out more information?
You go to our website, it's advancedsales.ai. And just we have sales at advancedsales.ai. You know, send us, say you want to know more, you go to the website. There's a lot of information, a lot of blogs. We would cover a lot of this in individual posts. And I'd love to talk to anyone who wants to talk about it, because I love talking sales.
I will vouch for that.
Yeah. Thanks,
All right,
Greg.
listen, Kevin, look, I really appreciate the time. It's been valuable. I love the background. I love the mission. I love the purpose, and you know what you're looking to accomplish and the pain you're looking to solve. So thanks for the time here. We will do this again, and everybody for tuning in. Thanks for your time, and reach out to us at sales at Advanced Sales AI, please.
And just let me end by saying good luck and good selling.
Great sign off. Thanks, Kevin.